Right now, local burger joints, neighborhood pharmacies, and even these really ambitious new startups, they are quietly firing the biggest tech giants in Silicon Valley.
They really are, yeah.
Like instead of relying on those massive global third-party delivery apps we all have sitting on our phones right now, these local businesses are building their own multi-million-dollar logistics empires to replace them. And they're doing it in, what, a matter of weeks? Without hiring a single software engineer.
It is a massive migration. I mean, for years, the conventional wisdom was just that if you ran a local business, you had to surrender to the aggregators.
You had no choice.
Exactly. You traded this massive chunk of your profit margin, sometimes up to 30%, just to get access to their user base. You essentially paid a premium to build someone else's customer list.
Right, it's like the ultimate frenemy landlord situation. They give you a little digital booth in their massive food court, and sure, they bring foot traffic past your door, but they own the building. They own the relationship with the customer, and they take a huge cut of every single burger or, bottle of aspirin you sell.
Yeah, precisely.
But looking at the stack of sources we've gathered for today's deep dive, that era might actually be ending. We have a really comprehensive guide here on how local businesses are leveraging something called white label technology to fight back. So, okay, let's unpack this. How on earth does a single location pizza shop suddenly acquire the technological firepower to compete with massive Silicon Valley aggregators?
Well, the mechanism driving this entire rebellion is just a fundamental shift in how software is distributed. A white label delivery platform is essentially a fully built, ready-to-use software engine created by a specialized tech company. So the local business doesn't write any code, none at all. They just license this engine, wrap it in their own branding, apply their specific color palettes, upload their logos, and then launch it under their own domain.
Oh, wow. So to the consumer downloading the app from the App Store, there's absolutely no indication that it's powered by third-party tech.
None. It just looks and feels like the local restaurant's official proprietary application.
So it's basically the digital equivalent of buying a fully constructed, move-in, ready house, painting it your brand's colors, and just slapping your name on the mailbox.
That's a great way to put it, yeah.
But what is the actual upside for the business? I mean, sure, they save on that brutal 30% commission fee per order, but they now have to convince people to actually download an entirely new app. Like, do customers actually change their behavior just because a local shop asks them to?
The data on consumer behavior here is actually stunning. The sources indicate that businesses utilizing direct ordering channels, so their own independent branded apps, often experience up to a 30% increase in repeat business.
Wait, really? A 30% increase?
Compared to when they strictly relied on aggregators, yeah.
Just from changing the digital front door? That sounds almost too good to be true. Why would downloading a local app make me buy pizza more often?
Well, it really comes down to psychological tethering and controlled incentives. Because when a consumer opens a massive aggregator app, their loyalty is to the aggregator's convenience, right? They scroll through dozens of options, essentially window shopping.
Right. They might see your pizza, but then they get distracted by, like, a taco promotion.
Exactly. But when they download your specific app, they've already made that micro-commitment to your brand. Furthermore, because the business owns that platform, they control the push notifications.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, so they can track that a specific user orders a pepperoni pizza every other Friday at 6 p.m. And then at 5:30 p.m., they can send a personalized automated push notification offering a free garlic knot with their usual order. You just cannot do that on an aggregator.
You are taking back the steering wheel. You actually know who your customers are. And our sources point out this isn't just for established restaurants trying to save money, right? There is a huge startup angle here, too.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, if you have a brilliant idea for a niche delivery service, say, I don't know, late-night craft supplies for college architecture students, this white label technology acts as your minimum viable product.
Yes, your MVP.
Right. You can validate your business model and pitch to investors without burning $2 million just trying to build the core routing software. But let me push back on this whole concept for a second.
Sure.
Let's say a local restaurant group is highly successful. They are making money hand over fist. If a completely custom-built app gives a business 100% ownership of the underlying code and absolute freedom to do whatever they want with the user interface, why wouldn't a serious, well-capitalized business just build their own app? I mean, why rent the pre-built house if you can afford the architects to build your dream home?
Right. Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it all boils down to the reality of technical debt. Time to market and ongoing maintenance are these brutal realities that most food and retail entrepreneurs severely underestimate.
Also,
Well, a custom delivery app built from scratch requires a development cycle of at least 6 to 12 months before a single order can even be processed.
oof, that is a lifetime in the restaurant industry.
It is. And the finish line of development is actually just the starting line of maintenance. Once a custom app is built, the business is suddenly responsible for what the tech world calls DevOps development and operations.
Right, the behind-the-scenes stuff.
Yeah, they have to pay for server hosting, they have to push security patches, and they have to constantly update their code every single time Apple or Google releases a new operating system update. They've essentially forced a hospitality business to hire a permanent 24/7 digital maintenance crew.
Which is crazy for a pizza place.
Exactly. A white label solution, however, can be deployed in 2 to 8 weeks. And more importantly, the SaaS provider, the software as a service company that licenses the platform, handles all the DevOps.
So if an iOS update threatens to crash the checkout page,
The SaaS provider's engineers fix it behind the scenes across all their clients. The restaurant owner just keeps making pizza.
okay, so the business buys into this white label ecosystem specifically to avoid becoming a tech company. But looking at how these systems are actually structured, it is incredibly complex. Like, the source material outlines the architecture of a delivery platform, and it's an entire interconnected neighborhood.
It really is.
You have the customer app for browsing and ordering, the vendor panel for the kitchen to accept orders and update menus, the driver app for GPS routing and delivery status, and then what I like to call the air traffic control tower, the admin dashboard.
The admin dashboard is the absolute nerve center. I mean, it gives the business owner real-time oversight of the entire physical and digital ballet. They're monitoring active orders, they're adjusting delivery zones on a live map, configuring dynamic delivery fees based on weather or demand, and managing driver payouts.
And the sources actually detail 4 different ways a business can deploy this architecture. You've got the single vendor model, which is straightforward, just one restaurant delivering its own food.
Right.
There is the multi-vendor marketplace, where an entrepreneur uses the white label software to build their own local competitor to Uber Eats, hosting dozens of different restaurants. There's the niche-specific model, focusing entirely on one vertical, like pharmacy or alcohol. And then there is the hyperlocal model.
Yeah, hyperlocal is huge right now.
But I need some clarity here. How does a business actually choose between these, and specifically, how does a hyperlocal model differ in its actual back-end logistics from a multi-vendor marketplace? Like, isn't hyperlocal just a multi-vendor app with a smaller map drawn around it?
That's a great question, but no, it fundamentally changes the algorithms and the operational strategy. A multi-vendor platform is engineered for volume and variety. The system is designed to handle complex commission, splitting across hundreds of different vendors, spread across a really wide area.
Okay.
The routing algorithms are often dealing with drivers crossing town, picking up multiple orders from different restaurants along this sprawling route. Hyperlocal, however, is obsessed with speed within a highly constrained geography, often a radius of just 2 or 3 miles.
Wow, that's small.
Yeah, the algorithms in a hyperlocal white label setup are prioritizing rapid batching. If 3 people in a 10-block radius order groceries, the system has to instantly bundle those to a single driver to ensure a sub-20-minute delivery time. Hyperlocal logistics are tighter, the routing is way more aggressive, and the margin for error is virtually zero because the entire brand promise is immediate gratification.
Okay, that makes total sense. You're optimizing for totally different types of physics. So we understand the architecture and the different models, but let's get into the actual real-world friction. The source material provides a roadmap for launching one of these platforms, and instead of just looking at the checklist, let's imagine a real business doing this.
Sounds good.
Let's say a wildly popular local Italian joint, we'll call them Tony's Pizza, decides they are done giving 30% to the aggregators. They license a white label sauce platform like Enatega, which our sources mention as a highly scalable provider. They upload their red and green branding, they put their menu in. What are the actual hurdles Tony faces before he can take a live order?
Well, the first major friction point is delivery zone configuration. Tony can't just drop a pin on a map and draw a generic 5-mile circle. Real-world geography doesn't work like that.
Right, because of traffic and rivers and stuff.
Exactly. A 5-mile circle might cross a major river with only one bridge, or intersect with a highway system that routinely gridlocks at 5 p.m. So Tony has to use the admin dashboard to draw custom polygon maps, meticulously outlining specific neighborhoods where he knows his drivers can actually fulfill the brand promise of hot pizza.
And he also has to onboard those drivers, right? Which means setting up a whole new microeconomy. He has to decide in the admin panel if drivers get a flat fee per delivery, a percentage of the order, or, if the delivery fee surges during a Friday night rainstorm.
Exactly. And he has to ensure the core features of the white label app are active and optimized. The sources are absolutely adamant that modern consumers have baseline expectations set by the tech giants.
Right, we're all spoiled by Uber.
We are. Tony's white label app must have live GPS tracking for the riders. It must have highly secure payment gateways offering multiple options like Apple Pay or credit cards. If a customer places an order and the screen just says out for delivery with no map to watch, or if their preferred payment method isn't accepted, the trust just evaporates immediately.
Okay, which brings us to the most intense part of the launch phase. The sources dedicate a massive amount of attention to the test phase. And here's where it gets really interesting to me. As someone outside the development world, I usually assume testing an app just means clicking all the buttons to make sure they don't lead to a dead web page or making sure the logo isn't pixelated. Why is testing a white label delivery app framed as this terrifying make or break hurdle?
What's fascinating here is that you are not just testing software, you are testing the collision of digital code with physical chaos. When you test a standard mobile game, all the variables exist within the phone.
Right.
But when Tony tests his new delivery platform, he has to simulate an incredibly complex chain reaction of physical events.
So walk me through that simulation. What is actually happening?
Okay, imagine simulating a busy Friday night. A tester places an order on the customer app. The digital request travels to the vendor panel in Tony's kitchen. Tony's staff has to hear the ping, read the ticket, and actually hit accept. The moment they hit accept, the system's brain has to calculate the prep time, look at a live map of all available drivers, find one that is exactly 7 minutes away, and ping their driver app. The driver accepts.
And the customer is watching all this.
Yes,
Yeah.
and the GPS routing has to adjust for a new traffic accident on Main Street. Meanwhile, the payment gateway has to process the credit card. Now, what happens if Tony's kitchen suddenly runs out of fresh mozzarella and they have to cancel the order? Right. The system has to instantly trigger a reverse flow refund protocol, notify the driver to stand down, and send a push notification to the customer apologizing. All of these disparate systems have to talk to each other flawlessly in real time.
My stress levels just spiked just visualizing that. If the API linking the kitchen's tablet to the driver's phone lags by even 30 seconds, the pizza sits under a heat lamp, the driver is waiting in the parking lot, and the customer is just staring at a frozen map on their screen.
Exactly. Which introduces one of the biggest underlying risks that isn't always obvious. Reliance on the sauce provider's uptime.
Ah, right.
When you use a white label service, you are outsourcing your digital infrastructure. If the sauce provider's cloud servers go down on Super Bowl Sunday, Tony's proprietary app goes down with it. That is why vetting the provider's server stability and reading the fine print on who actually owns the customer data if the partnership dissolves is absolutely critical before you launch.
That is a massive stake. Like, you own the brand, but you are still tethered to their server racks. And because of all that potential chaos, the sources highly recommend what they call a soft launch.
It is an absolute necessity. You do not buy a local billboard space or announce the app to your entire email list on day one.
Yeah.
No. You launch in a hyper-restricted delivery zone, maybe just a 1-mile radius around the restaurant. And you invite a small, very forgiving group of loyal customers to use it. In complex logistics, failing quietly on a micro scale is the only way you figure out how to succeed loudly when you open the floodgates.
Fail quietly, fix the bugs, and then scale. So Tony's digital air traffic control tower is built, it survived the physical chaos of the testing phase, and the soft launch was a success. We have to look at the reality check of the finances here. What is the actual financial damage to get to this point? According to our sources, the initial setup cost for a standard white label platform ranges from $5,000 to $25,000, plus ongoing monthly SaaS fees of roughly $300 to $1,500 for all that DevOps and maintenance you mentioned.
Right, and for a profitable local business, a $5,000 to $25,000 capital expenditure to completely eliminate 30% commission fees on every future order is an incredibly rapid return on investment.
So what does this all mean when we look at the high end of the spectrum? Because the sources also mention that highly customized white label deployments can skyrocket to $80,000 or even cross the six-figure mark. If the software is pre-built and essentially ready to go, where on earth is 80 grand going? Isn't that just custom app money at that point?
Well, that higher tier is where enterprise complexity comes into play. The $5,000 to $25,000 range gets you the pure, functional system, which is perfect for Tony's Pizza.
Right.
But imagine a multinational fast food franchise trying to use a white label base to build their new global app. They have thousands of locations, and more importantly, they have massive legacy point-of-sale systems.
Like the actual physical cash registers they've been using since the late 1990s.
Exactly. They cannot run the delivery platform on a separate iPad on the counter. It must integrate directly into their corporate accounting software, their global inventory trackers, and those ancient cash registers.
Ah, so they need custom APIs. Which, for anyone not deeply embedded in tech, an API is basically a digital translator. It's like hiring a specialized waiter whose only job is to carry requests back and forth between the shiny new mobile app and the 20-year-old corporate mainframe.
That is a perfect analogy, yeah. And building those highly secure custom digital translators,
Yep.
ensuring compliance with international data privacy laws, and scaling the servers to handle, say, 1 million concurrent users during a nationwide promotion. That is what drives the cost into the high five or low six figures.
Wow.
But even at that price, it is still drastically faster and cheaper than building from scratch.
Okay, so whether you spend 5 grand or 100 grand, you still face the exact same existential crisis on launch day. Obscurity. You have this beautiful new digital house, but nobody knows the address.
Right.
The major aggregator apps already have prime real estate on your customer's phone screen. How do you convince them to download yours? The sources outline several marketing strategies. We have influencer marketing, which is paying local food bloggers to review the app. We have standard email and SMS marketing to your existing database. And we have App Store optimization, or ASO.
ASO is critical.
Hmm.
It is the digital equivalent of fighting for eye-level shelf space in a grocery store. If a hungry user searches pizza delivery in the Apple App Store, you need your keywords, your app description, and your review scores optimized so that Tony's Pizza appears at the top of the search results rather than buried on page 4 beneath all the aggregators.
But ASO takes time. If we are talking about immediate, hard-hitting strategies to pull customers away from aggregators and into a newly launched independent platform, the sources highlight 2 specific tactics that really fascinated me: referral programs and branded packaging.
They are powerful alone, but together they create a massive retention loop. A digital referral program is designed to engineer virality. The app offers a user, say, $10 in credit if they get a friend to download the app and place an order. It essentially weaponizes your most loyal customers, turning them into a highly motivated, decentralized marketing team. They do the user acquisition for you.
And the branded packaging. I mean, that seems so low-tech compared to algorithmic routing and API integrations. It's just a nice box.
It is low-tech, but it is high-impact psychology. Branded packaging is the physical bridge to the digital experience. It is the unboxing moment.
Right.
When a customer orders through a massive aggregator, the food often arrives in a generic, unbranded plastic bag. The aggregator's driver doesn't work for the restaurant, so the presentation is an afterthought. But when the customer uses the restaurant's direct app and the food arrives in premium custom-branded packaging, carefully sealed with tamper-evident tape featuring the restaurant's logo,
Oh, that makes a difference.
it creates a profound moment of brand recall.
Mm-hmm.
It visually and physically proves to the customer that bypassing the middleman results in a superior, more cared-for product.
It validates their choice to download the app in the first place. This is all coming together so clearly. To summarize the journey we've mapped out today, the landscape of local commerce is quietly but fundamentally changing. By leveraging white label SaaS platforms, businesses of all sizes can officially escape the commission trap of the massive third-party aggregators.
Yeah, they really can.
They can launch a fully independent, highly sophisticated delivery engine in a matter of weeks without taking on the crushing technical debt of building software from scratch. And, most importantly, they regain total ownership of the customer relationship, allowing them to offer a cohesive, branded experience that can drive a staggering 30% increase in repeat business.
The implications of this for you, the listener, are profound. Whether you are an entrepreneur looking for a low-cost MVP to launch a new niche delivery service,
Mm.
or a local business owner tired of renting your own customers from tech giants, or honestly just someone who occasionally orders takeout,
Wow.
understanding this invisible back-end shift changes how you view the local economy.
Totally.
It demonstrates that the barrier to entry for highly complex real-time logistics technology has just never been lower. A single location pharmacy or a neighborhood pizza shop can now operate with the exact same digital sophistication as a Silicon Valley unicorn.
They just need to buy the right pre-built house and paint it their colors. But as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a completely new thought to mull over. Something that wasn't explicitly spelled out in the source material, but feels like an inevitable collision course based on everything we've just discussed.
What's that?
If white label solutions are becoming this accessible, if the technology is getting cheaper and it really only takes a few weeks to launch, what happens when every single local restaurant, independent grocery store, and neighborhood pharmacy successfully launches their own independent delivery app to escape the aggregators? Will we, as consumers, eventually suffer from massive app fatigue?
That's a really good point.
Are we going to tolerate having 50 different individual store apps cluttering our phone screens just to manage our weekly food and errands? And ironically, could that exact consumer fatigue eventually pave the way for a brand new type of aggregator to swoop in and solve the very fragmentation these independent apps just created? Are we just destined to move from one frenemy landlord to another? It's something to think about the next time you hit order. Until next time, thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.